Eliza Collins is in Washington. She's a congressional reporter for USA Today. Eliza, let's start with the president's message for the House Freedom Caucus, something that you've been reporting on. What are you hearing from members on the Hill in that reaction?
Well, House Freedom Caucus members are a little taken aback, actually, because they feel like President Trump is their friend. Congressman Mark Meadows was very close with Trump. He campaigned with him. You know, the Freedom Caucus stuck by Trump throughout with the Access Hollywood video we saw during the campaign. You know, some of Trump's bigger controversial moments when even House Speaker Paul Ryan stepped aside, the House Freedom Caucus was there. And so I think through this negotiating process, they kind of expected that while they wouldn't ultimately back the bill, their friend, the president, would stick around. And I think they're a little bit shocked.
Well, the White House's response Thursday from Sean Spicer, the press secretary, was that the president's tweets on the caucus speak for themselves and that the administration is actually more interested in getting the voting math right. Now, we just heard that Speaker Ryan, he said that he shares the president's frustration in this. So really, bottom line, does the president and does the House Speaker need these members to go forward?
Well, it depends what kind of legislation they want to push through. If they want to push through Republican legislation that will repeal Obamacare, they absolutely need these members. There's maybe 36 Freedom Caucus members, and they can only lose about 20. So they do need these members. Now, if they're willing to go for kind of more moderate middle ground legislation, they might be able to pick off some Democrats. But Democrats are not going to vote to repeal their health care law. So they say that they're happy to work on fixing it and making it better, their line, but they're not going to do anything with a repeal. So I think it just depends what kind of legislation the president and the speaker decide on.
Well, you know, the president has said, though, that he has opened the door and he may even work with Democrats in regards to the health care bill. But we heard Speaker Ryan say that that's not something that he wants. Does the president likely offering this olive branch to Democrats pose a problem for Speaker Ryan in that regard?
I think it just goes to show right now how kind of muddled everything is. You have the president saying, I'm open to Democrats. You have the House Speaker saying, we're not. Then you have, you know, Senator Bob Corker, you guys just talked about earlier, saying, well, you need to work across the aisle. So I think right now, Republicans need to get on the same page, and it just doesn't look good with these different messages, and that is something that Democrats can kind of pick up on and capitalize.
Looming a month from now, Eliza, is a potential government shutdown. Just days left now, the week of legislative days to pass a spending bill. What are your sources telling you about how Congress is looking to deal with avoiding a shutdown?
Well, there's a lot of concern. We just saw, you know, if a Republican House with a Republican Senate and a Republican president couldn't pass a repeal bill that they had talked about for the last 7 years because of, you know, differences within the party, how is Congress going to be able to come together and decide spending, which is something that, you know, you have this fiscal hawk saying no more spending. You have the defense hawks saying we want to up this way. You have people saying you want to defund Planned Parenthood. There are so many different aspects of this bill in both parties that people are kind of clamoring for that I think people are concerned. We saw Speaker Ryan say that we're going to try to get something as clean as possible through, and those more controversial measures will go on their own just so that, you know, the government can stay afloat. But it's not clear what's going to happen in the Senate, and it's not clear someone like the Freedom Caucus will be okay with a bill that doesn't do things like defund Planned Parenthood.
Getting back to Russia's meddling in the election, the House and its investigation into this is still in shambles. Did we gain any clarification, any clarity into the House Intel Committee ranking member Adam Schiff's comments Thursday about how that committee moves forward from here?
I think Adam Schiff was kind of trying to pick up the pieces a little bit. We saw the Senate committee did a press conference yesterday, and Warner and Burr, you know, went out there and they definitely gave off the vibe. I saw people say the grown-ups are in the room. We're in control now. We've got this. Don't look at the House. And so I think, you know, in some ways Schiff and Nunes were embarrassed. I think Schiff went and he said he is still very angry and frustrated, but he did say we met. We're trying to get a witness list. I think in some ways he's trying to take back control, but there's a lot of division and there's distrust. I mean, if the ranking member is calling for the chairman to resign or to recuse himself, it's not going over well.
And he refuses to.
He refuses to. And House Speaker Ryan says he doesn't want him to either.
All right, Eliza Collins, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.